Oh, well, hello. It is Monday night. So, guess what? It is time for Inspired Ink. I'm always hyped for these evenings. We have a very awesome guest with us tonight because we're actually doing a lot with the Zelda Awards. So, I'm super hyped that we got connected because of the Zelda Awards. And we're having a bunch of the creators on throughout the next couple of months as we lead into the show. I believe in April, they're going to be having it. But this is kind of the series, the start of Inspired Ink, talking to so many of these amazing creators and I'm super hyped because this resume is insane. And we just talked about toys for a few minutes, so I'm super hyped about that as well. But Mary Bellamy, hello, how are you tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I everything you've done so far is so impressive, so interesting. You have an insane resume. You've worked with everybody pretty much, from DC to animation to tabletop RPGs to doing My Little Pony and tons of other comics and books. And it's hard to pick what to even start with you. But out of everything on your resume, what's your kind of your prize thing that you're most proud of?
Well, I think as an 80s kid, I grew up loving all the girly stuff. So when I got to work on My Little Pony, it was like a dream come true. You know, it's like one of those bucket list things. And it's so funny because I did the comic covers. One of the artists, I think Tom Zoller, he's like, "Yeah, man, go show your portfolio. Just do it." Because I was very nervous and I was like not very confident. And he I went up to the editor. He's like, "Yeah, let me look at your stuff." And a year later, he's like, "Hey, so like, you want to do a cover or something?" I'm like, yes." And so I ended up doing 10 covers, and it kind of died down for a while. And it was so funny. Someone had commissioned me to do a Doctor Who's piece, and another company saw my stuff, and they're like, Renegade Games Studios, and they're like, "Hey, I saw your pony stuff. Do you want to work on pony for us?" I'm like, "Yes," because I had also worked with Scott. I think it was the Marvel trading cards that I did for like Upper Deck. And so he's like, "Yeah, you want to do stuff?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I did a bunch of tabletop games where I've done the covers. I've designed like 30 characters for the RPG books. Like here's one of the games. I did the cover.
Oh man, that's so
Yeah,
cool.
and a bunch of the insert tiles and cards of all the characters. So that was pretty cool. And then my name's on the box. And I designed game mats that you can
Oh
play on. So I got to design the main Renegade 6. So it's like, that's my little claim to fame is I made a bunch of ponies. Um, I've always loved like being able to work on like the sketch card sets are fun because you're basically kind of paid to work at fan art. So as long
wow.
as you work within the guidelines, like these are the characters you can illustrate, this is the thematic things you can touch and not touch, you can draw basically fan art. And so I got to draw all the super obscure characters, like, all the background female characters, because if you know my work, it's female centric. I like, girl positive, girl centric stuff. So it's like, hey, here's Halo from DC. And, here's like a bunch of weird princesses from Steven Universe. And everyone's like, the legal was like, "Hey, man, like, I don't know. Are these like real characters?" And the super fan that worked, he's like, "Man, if she's drawing them, they're real." So it was pretty cool. I don't know. I just like really working on all this stuff, like, Marvel stuff, like, was one of my first card sets. And I only found it because there was a random, I think Mark Irwin was like, "Hey, y'all, does anyone want to do some sketch cards?" And I didn't really know what they were. So it's like, "Sure, I'll draw a couple." It's like, "Oh, no, 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 like 50. I'm like, "Oh, 50. Okay, sure." And so, I was doing more. I was drawing, inking, and coloring them. So back then, it was actually literally sketch cards back at the time. So I was doing a step and beyond, and it just opened so many doors of working with other companies, and it's just like so many cards later. It's been a lot of fun.
And sketch cards especially, that's a different mindset from when you're doing like a panel, a page, a promotional piece, a cover. What do you kind of switch, into when you're thinking about design and what you're fitting into the sketch card? How are you thinking differently from like a cover for something?
So like a cover, you have way more space. Like and like for me, I could do digital sketches. I could do like computer paper doodling on there, like transferring it in color over it. But sketch cards, you're like, "Oh no, I have to be traditional." So you're like, "Okay, I have to get like at least their head has to be in it. Has to be at least the torso is usually what it is." And like I can draw really small, but some people are drawing these crazy masterpieces. I'm like, "Hey, I'm just going to draw a very cute, appealing cartoon version so that I stick out from everybody else because everybody else is doing like comic book and realism, which is awesome. But I wanted to do cartoons. So I'm sitting there like, how can I make sure I get the character across so you know that it's White Rabbit, you know that it's Peter Parker, you know who it is by looking at it, and then try to put some motion into it. So you're like looking at photo references. And basically what I would do is I would rough out all the sketches of the poses first, and then I'd go back in and make them the character after. And then I had to learn a new way of inking because black ink, even with micron, smears when you're trying to erase on those cards. So I've had to pioneer kind of like inking it with colored microns and then inking it with black after I put the color in.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay,
it's
that
just like
makes sense.
a totally different mindset than on the computer where you're just like, okay, I'm just inking and I'm flood filling and I'm doing the flats and I'm doing the shading and the highlight and the gradients, and it's just a different animal. And then after a while I discovered watercolor, which was so much faster. I'm like, why didn't I know how to do this before when I was drawing like 150 dinosaur cards? But you learn when you get it.
And so how much do you think that elevated your later work? Just being able to go in that compressed mindset, really narrowing it down. I kind of feel like it's when you do like a short story where it's just tight at that point. You have to keep it compressed. Do you think that elevated your larger work because of that? Because of the
Oh yeah,
elaboration you could do?
I think also when you have to learn how to take into account the amount of time and effort versus the pay you get. So you learn how to do economy of line, economy of art, and how many cards can I crank out and get it hit those deadlines. Because some companies are like, you get a month to do 100 cards, and some people, like my first set was like 200 cards in like 2 weeks.
Wow.
So I'd added color, like I said, I was like, oh, going crazy. But like it helps you stop thinking too much, stop
Mhm.
overthinking when you have to do so many things at one time.
You just got to push it out at that point,
Yeah,
huh?
because when you're first starting, you're like, oh, I'm afraid to make a mistake. Oh, I got to erase it. It's like, no, just do everything in a completely different mindset. It just helps you streamline and focus when you know that you have a timeline and like a goal of how many cards you can get done in a week.
I bet that's a confidence booster for you too, just knowing you're just like next, like I can't even look, like I have to just
Oh yeah.
blast through this.
I have like hyper focus, like a train could literally be coming behind me and bursting through the walls and I wouldn't even notice it. Be like, I gotta get this done.
Just
Everyone's like, oh, you have 6 weeks. I'm like, no, no, no. You have 6 weeks, but then you have like 2 weeks of time, travel time for those cards to get there and back. And you never know when something crazy is gonna happen, so you just jump on it right away. So it just completely
oh.
changed my focus working on those.
So how come they're maybe just doing them traditionally, why were they don't be done traditionally versus digitally because of that amount? And like was it just that specific type of sketch card?
So
What was the production after that?
So basically, what it is when you get the sketch cards, it's like a bonus. So you get this pack of trading cards. Oh, here's the printed one. Here's look, a real drawing by a real artist. That's why it
Oh.
was traditional. I've done base cards for like Fivefinity where I got to do digital ones where they just
Mhm.
printed my art on it, and I had my own set, Bunny Girls versus Cat Girls with Fivefinity. So I got to do the backs too, as well as the fronts and the logo, which was fun to do. But yeah, they want something original. Like sometimes they take a piece of someone's costume or autographs from like actors, as
Oh
long as
wow,
it's
that's cool.
something real, not digital. Because then people feel cheated, like, oh, they just printed a mass printing of cards with a signature. Ooh.
Yeah, at that point, yeah. I've seen stuff like that too. That means so much more just having that authentic little piece. And getting those little bonuses are always super cool. And you kind of treasure that sketch card or that little bonus art more than anything else sometimes because it's such a surprise. It's so unique and there's so much passion poured into that. That's so rad. And so, this opened up a lot of opportunities for you. But how did you come about this opportunity? What were you doing up to this to get to the sketch card point and get that opportunity presented in front of you?
So the very first thing I did, I wanted to go into animation, but it wasn't working out because I didn't really have the connection. So a couple of animation friends of mine in school, we went to a thing called the World Animation Celebration, and we kind of shared a pass, and we're running across the floor trying to get feedback on our work. And afterward, we went to a comic book shop that had a bunch of books. So there, I found Radio Comics' Furlough anthology. So you could actually submit short stories and get published. And so I ended up working up the nerve to take one of my stories, Aw Heck, and I drew the prototype version and I submitted it at San Diego Comic Con way back in '99. I got rejected. That's okay. I made a better version, was this close to being a Tokyo Pop winner, but at the last second, it didn't make it in for whatever reason. But then Radio Comics then again went back and published it after they had already published some of my other stories like Faux Facts, The Truth Can Be Strange, and Project Lamb.
Ooh.
Which here's Ahek. It's like a whole finished story. It's about a girl who winds up in the underworld trying to escape from evil bunnies and killer teddy bears because God turned the underworld into a reform program. Only Angel didn't get the memo.
Love that.
And then I had my other series, Faux Facts, The Truth Can Be Strange. It's about a group of friends where crazy things happen to them. Junk food, nightmares, cartoon characters come to life, killer starfish. Basically, I wanted to tell a story that was female-led. It wasn't focused on princesses and makeup. It wasn't focused on getting a boyfriend. And a little more realism when it comes to friendships. Because, you know, I love me a good friendship story, friendship forever. But in the real world, our friendships kind of change, shift, and even go away. So I wanted to be a little more realistic in my depictions. And that's why I created those two series. So basically, they started out as submissions to anthologies. And those got me into Comic-Con as a professional. Ooh. And when I got into Comic-Con as a professional, I got to meet other people. They saw my work. They offered me a sketch card job. And then the sketch card jobs led back to, it's like this weird kind of serpentine path of back to meeting the guy who told me I should go submit to the editor, who then approved my thing to be in My Little Pony. And then I did more sketch cards. This whole time I was doing some freelance stuff in animation. I worked with like Titmouse on a project. I worked with the Drew Carey green screen show as an assistant. I was inking stuff for Shanda Fantasy Arts. Other people would draw the stories. I would ink it. I did a few short stories for them that I did draw. And then I had some of my anthology stuff with them. I did some fan art stuff for the anthologies for Antarctic Press's Gold Digger and Ninja High School. I did a short story for Slave Labor Graphics, and I just kept building these little milestones, and it just kept building and building and building. I pitched at studios. I came so close at a couple of studios with like Faux Facts and that, and I'm like, so close. So I, at this point, just started doing my own pilots. I've already like storyboarded an entire 4-minute pilot for one of them, a couple short character blips for just background, just make everything right now. Cause right now everything's on fire. So I'm like, let's make the best of a bad situation and make the stuff we always wanted to, because now we don't really need Hollywood as much. I mean, Hollywood is cool, but now we have software where we got Photoshop that can actually work, computers that won't burst into flames with motion graphics anymore. You know, you got CapCut if you can't afford Photoshop, like Premiere. There's so much more. There's people you can talk to. It's like, oh my God, please do voices for my cartoon because I'm doing 15 voices and it sounds like a schizophrenic is talking. No offense, but it just sounds really bad when you're doing it all alone, which I have done. But you know what I'm saying? Like now there's access where you can talk to other people. There's a community to get feedback on. This last year, I was so burnt out on doing my comics because I have like over 600 pages with Faux Facts and like 200 and something with Ahek. And then I have a mixed zine, which is like a bunch of short stories I did for other people's anthologies. And all that was like, I love doing it, but I got so burnt out that I couldn't work on comics for a while. So I'm like, okay, let's go back to animation. So I started doing the animatic storyboards, and they're basically like little advertisements for the books in a visual format. So at my table at Comic-Con, I had a TV screen where you could literally watch like really quick clips from the books, and it's semi-animated. Kids are like, ooh, it's a cartoon. It's like, and it's a book too. You can read the book too. And then it also at the same time, I've been writing literary novels and all sorts of stuff just because now is the time to do your own thing. Maybe not finance it, but get it to a point where you can, like, when stuff settles, when the dust settles, here's my project. You know, here's my thing in a visualization, because believe me, no one's going to understand when you just say, my idea is this. It's like, no, here's pictures of my characters. Here's 5 pages of this story. Here's my vision plan for this thing. And just, you know, try to make the best of a bad situation. And then if that all fails, just say, I need a break. Let's go explore abandoned zoos in Texas. You know?
Gosh, that's so there's a lot to unpack there that I'm very curious about. But that's also so exciting. I mean, you are a creative powerhouse. That's just so much work back to back and keeping yourself motivated and going throughout that. What's the time frame that you're kind of talking about here from your start of like inquiring into animation to basically where you've landed right now? Like how long have you been creating and pumping out stuff?
Oh, since like 99.
Okay, so I mean that even then to be able to go on that long and
Yeah.
still sustain, that's very admirable. And I guess I go back to like a little bit at the beginning. So the networking part, where you're getting connected and where you're putting yourself out there a lot. What gives you the confidence, because a lot of indie creators get scared about
Trial and
approaching, about
error.
bugging. Uh,
Trial and
there you
error
go.
falling on your face saying, "Oops, I put my foot in my mouth. Oops, I'll try again," because there's different modes of communication, like neurotypical and neurodivergent. And sometimes if you're too blunt, people are like, oh, you're kind of offending me. Oh, I'm sorry. You're like, oh, I didn't mean that. That's not what I meant. And it just really just is. It took me at least 3 years to perfect my pitch when people came to my table at Comic-Con. Because in the beginning, they're like, oh, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. And then it was just like, you just had to rattle out your pitch, like your elevator pitch in 2 minutes, under 2 minutes, and like, boom, and you could get them to your table. And it just took a lot of effort. Like, you're going to fail. Sometimes you're going to say dumb things. Sometimes it's just not the right time. And you're like, oh, I did not read the room. I will do better next time. But yeah, no, I think we all start out being, I think the most talented people have the least confidence. And then the inverse is true. It just takes getting to know what you can do and then not over promising. Like,
Oh yeah.
if you can't do it all, don't tell people you can do it all. I mean, there's things that you can learn along the way, but if you don't know how to if you don't know how to time manage, don't promise a 10,000 page book in 3 weeks. That's like not going to happen. But sometimes people bite off things that are way too big. But generally, also just see people as people. Don't be like, hey, you're that guy who makes a thing. I'm only going to talk to you about that thing, and I don't really care about you in any other way. Don't do that. Like, be a real person. It's like, hey, cool. We both like, I don't know, rocks. Rocks are cool. And, be a friend. First and foremost, be a friend. Don't just see people as opportunities. Just be a friend. Be chill.
100%. No, honestly, that's any connection I've ever made or opportunities I give out, anywhere I've gotten within this wild little industry, it's all just, being honest and true and genuine and a friend and caring. And if you show that and you end up vibing with that person, working with that person is a lot better too. And establishing any sort of relationship, kind of even pre like actually taking on gigs, that's the best way, or just letting them know about you, or like that way if you plant those seeds, people forget seed planting is huge in this industry. You have to kind of just talk to 20,000 people, and then that means you planted
Yeah.
20,000 seeds. You'll probably get maybe a handful of them that blossom and bloom, but some of them take a while to pop up and whatnot. What was like one of your biggest lessons when it in terms of taking on too much work? What was maybe some of your experiences of just figuring out, okay, I can or can't handle this type of thing?
Well, I think I'm when I first started, I was like very down on my skills. So I never took more than I could think, because I had the mentality of I have to be perfect.
Okay.
Like certain Gen X kids grew up with, if you're not number one, you're a failure.
Yeah.
So don't take on too much, because if you fail, you're not good enough. And I know that's not emotionally a good place, but that's kind of where I was coming from. So I would kind of underdo, but then I would always have everything done. I would never let things go. And I was always on top of communication, sometimes to the detriment, because some people are like, you talk too much. I'm like, I just want to give you what you want. I just want to make you happy. But yeah, I always try to be very realistic. Like, I can do this. I would like to do this. Realistically, though, I can do this. If that is good for you, cool. If not, I'm sure there's other people, because I know lots of people that are amazing, that are like, can fly like a powerhouse. And then after they've done work all day long drawing, they go home and draw some more. And you're like, wow, that's a lot.
I mean, even in your instance too, just hearing that track record of, I mean, sketch cards, comics, animation. That's a lot of skills to learn in general. Even with I mean, even your work with DC, you're a flattener. It looked like,
Yeah.
and so like even just getting gigs like that, knowing how to hone that skill high enough to get to those standards, that's a lot of skill sets to focus on and obtain. So is that all just through practice and figuring out? Do you like
Oh
have a
yeah. It's so funny because I got the flatting job just completely out of the blue. Like, um, a friend of mine had Cleopatra in Space, Mike, my hack, and he's like, "Oh, I need someone to help me." And so I did some flatting. I had never flatted before. I literally was like, "Just tell me what to do and I'll do it." And so like I did it. And then out of the blue comes this company's like, "Oh, Cat Ninja, can you flat our books?" I'm like, "You're asking me? I actually do more than flatting. I'm more of an illustrator." "Oh, no, no, no." I'm like, "Okay, it's fine." But you just kept doing it and doing it and doing it, and then you're like, "Okay, I'm just doing it and getting it done." Um, you just start out kind of wobbly, then you eventually you get your footing and you get used to it. It's just like that for a lot of things. Like, as long as you think you can reasonably learn it in time, go ahead and try it.
yeah.
You know, because like with the inking with DC, Yehudi helped create Cat Ninja. So I had worked with him on one of his stories. I had flatted one of his stories, and like, "Oh, I need help with DC because I did Shazam Thundercrack, and I have never colored so many robot butts in the world. Robot, it's a lot. And like Cleopatra spaceships. Oh my god, hordes and spaceships. It was like a lot. But if anything, there's a little cameo of Angel from Ah Heck in there, which is kind of cool. So I'm like, hey, I'm sort of technically published with Scholastic.
It's
You know.
amazing.
So Yehudi's like, yeah, can you help me out? And his style was completely different. Some companies would just give you line art, and he was like, oh no, he had all this stuff masked off. And he's like, just do it like this. He had pages of instructions, and I'm like, you give me the instructions, I can go super fast. It's
Nice.
when people are vague and nebulous, or they don't really understand. Like your art director's like, I don't quite understand. Just do the thing, and you're like, oh, okay, I'll feel it out. Yeah,
I feel that. That's a lot of this job sometimes. Just figure it out. We'll just run with it and we'll figure it out and learn along the way. And this is probably more of a selfish question, but what are some like your best like tips and advice when approaching flattening? I feel like that's a skill set I have to develop more as an artist and figure out. It's just I just kind of jump into things, but like when you're approaching the page and you're about to begin, what are you kind of figuring out as you start to flat?
so the first thing before you even do anything is to make sure that the files that you're given are actually ready to be flatted. A lot of people will be like, oh, I drew this thing, oh, but I need to change this, and so they try to stretch it, and it's got pixelation around the edges, it's got fuzzy edges. It's like you gotta threshold that out so that it's black and white, not these
Ooh.
fuzzy gray halos. There's different ways. I just use the paintbrush, not paintbrush, sorry, pencil tool, because it's aliased, so there's no fuzziness. And then as long as your lines are underneath the line art, some stuff is so clean you don't even need to really draw it. You can fill, expand, and as long as the lines look clean, then you're good.
Ooh.
Other ones are kind of messy and they think, I'm going to be artistic and use a brush texture that no one will ever see when it's printed in real size. And then you're like, okay, I'm trying to keep it clean, but there's like all these smudgy looking, weird, low res stuff, or it's jaggedy because they blew it up. It's like, guys, please, please redraw it at the correct size and then shrink the entire page down. Don't try to like draw the big thing and then put it on a little page because it looks terrible.
Oh
But that's like
man.
the first thing. One place was actually really weird and they wanted me to flat in RGB. And I'm like, if anything goes to print, it must always be CMYK. You can
Mhm.
go to CMYK back to RGB, but RGB to CMYK means you're going to have to fiddle with stuff. And sometimes you're forced to with like KDPs, file sizes. You give them CMYK for no reason, they'll convert it to RGB and print it. And you're like, why?
That
So,
switches so much up too. It like you'll feel that right when you get in the
yeah,
print. That's rough. Yeah.
yeah. So but yeah, make sure it's always in CMYK. Make sure the files are at the good resolution, like 600 is good. You can do 300, but the bigger it is, when you shrink it down, any kind of errors will go away. No one's going to
Oh,
care about one or two missed pixels. People are like, oh my God, someone's going to see. I'm like, once that hits the paper, the nooks and crannies is going to absorb that. And you're not even going to see it. So, there's such a thing as being too myopic, and then such a thing as being like too lenient. So you just try to find a good, healthy medium, especially like I said with the cards. You're only getting paid a flat rate.
yeah.
Someone's only going to pay you $10 to $25 a page. Are you going to spend 10 hours on that? Get $2 an hour? It's not
Eesh,
worth
yeah.
it. I got paid.
Yeah.
I got paid to design one pony character in 2 hours, done art, everything, versus 5 days of flatting.
Oh, wow, that's
So
wild.
so why worry with that? You know, that's kind of the thing, was like, okay, I need a stopgap job, but not something I'm going to seek out.
Well, that makes sense, and it's also figuring out which ones are, like, your fast-paced skill sets too at that
Yeah.
point too. Okay, what do you think are some of your main skill sets that you know you could kind of fly through that you're like, "If I'm gonna get a good gig, I can knock this out and get paid pretty well for?"
But I think it really depends. For me personally, when you know the characters like My Little Pony, when you watch
Mm,
the show and you know the symbolism in the kind of iconic breakdowns of styles, it's a lot easier. So those are just basically like the backgrounds. For example, it's a tree, but you're not actually. You can go two ways. You can draw line art, fill it in, and then color behind the gaps that are left from the line art, and then throw the line art in the trash. Or you could use like the lasso or pen tool to draw the shapes and then draw the shapes within the shapes and then put gradients over the top. So it's just analyzing, like, is this a line based project or is this something that can go just with shape based illustration?
oh.
So a lot of comics are just line based. So you're just going to do the typical flatting. But if it's something like Pony, then you can do the other way.
Makes sense. Okay, gosh, that's so crazy, and that again all comes from experience and figuring it out and seeing what it looks like in print too. I assume.
Yeah.
Ah, love that. Love that so much, dude. And then so this also kind of kickstarted like did you always have a passion for toys and toy
Oh,
collecting?
always. I was a kid. I loved My Little Pony. I had like 250 of those things, like this, like the original G1s. Uh, we grew up kind of poor, so I didn't have a lot like other people did. I always wanted strawberry shortcake, but it was too much. You know, it's like, oh, it smells so cute and it's great. And you'd have one or two dolls here and there. And but now that I have work and stuff and I don't have to worry about things, it's like, so we go thrifting and then we also go antiquing or antique malls, you know, they're not
Yeah.
technically antiques, but you know what I mean. So I would find stuff, like I was saying, I found Get Along Gang figures at one place. And just sticking behind these like porcelain figures, there's like moose from the Get Along Gang. I'm like, yoink. Other times I would buy toys like Rainbow High, but the kid had beaten the junk out of it. Like, but the thing was, all you really had to do is take some marker remover for the marker on the face, some alcohol, giving it alcohol, brush out the hair, condition it, redo it. So I've saved many of dolls like that. Some that are customs, like I can't really see it. Like
Yeah. I
back
mean,
there, I have a whole row of them. Um, but yeah, like I would find toys that I didn't have as a kid, like 1970s strawberry shortcakes, the original ones. Um, just all sorts of stuff, like trying to fill in the holes in collections and stuff I wasn't even looking for. I didn't even know there was like giant brushable My Little Pony dolls. I was like, is that real or is that a fakey? Oh my god, it's real. So they're like $10. Okay, yoink. You know, because on eBay it's like, I want $7,000 for this thing, and I'm like, it's missing half its hair and it's falling apart. No, thank you. So
and I
it
feel like finding them in the wild sometimes it
yeah, it's
brings
a
so much more
thrill.
excitement, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Like I found a rose petal place. Oh no, peppermint rose little figure from like 1991, just sticking in a drawer, just sticking there. And I'm like, wait, is that what I think it is? I'm like, yoink. So, you know, it's like giving them all a home, cleaning them up, giving them a place to be. Then just like, you know, all the stuff I ever had that I like, you know, was gone as a kid, or like Monster High. A friend told me about it, and I would find them at this store called Fala's. It was like this discount store. So other people were paying like $30 for a Monster High figure. I'm like, I got it for like $5, but it was like 3 seasons back. But it was like, I don't care. I just want the
yeah.
doll. So it's like, okay, $5, $5, and you know, you can get like eight for the cost of like one or two, and you're like, you know, so, like, tons of stuff like that. Just, like, find stuff that you can customize to make it look like your characters.
Oh, that's cool.
I did some 3D. I had a friend that was 3D printing or 3D modeling some of my magic wands and things from Aw Heck, and I'm like, I have this, like, real size wand. You go back someone on the head with those. Pretty cool. I wanna get into that. I also manufactured plush that wound up on Sci-Fi Channel's, top indie toys of 2000, I think 2018, something like that. It was like third coolest indie toy. I'm like, someone's like, "Hey, did you know you're on sci-fi.com?" I'm like, "I'm what?" So it was
Oh
like
my
I was on the cover of like their website. They had a whole article. I was like, well, that's cool.
oh, that's so sick. Oh,
And then
man, that's super cool.
and then another time someone's like, hey, your art's on the cover of a magazine. I'm like, what? And it turned out that the first My Little Pony game I did was like on the cover of Game Trade magazine that comes with like previews. And I was like,
Wow.
I am? What? So we had to get that off of eBay. And I was like, that was pretty cool. So,
Oh,
you know, it's the kind of stuff you're not really looking for it, but you find it anyway.
mhm. I mean, that's so much fun, especially redesigning them into your own comics and figures in your own series. I never thought about doing something like that, but that's a really brilliant idea for a lot of indie people to try to pick up if you have you see a character or figure that resembles yours to like kind of play with it, like just kind of mess around, see how you could kind of design it as your own. Are toys for your own series something that you've done already, or is it something that you're
Yes.
aspiring to do a bit more?
So I did my three Zori little guardians. They're like basically little animals, little bunnies with tails. It's an animal called a jerboa or a spring hare, and I just put wings on them because I wanted a rabbit mascot because I'm kind of known for like evil bunnies. So
Yeah.
bunnies are kind of prevalent, and I'm like, I don't want it to be just a rabbit because anyone could do a rabbit. So I'm like jerboas and sticking wings on them. I made the three dolls originally on my own. I'm prototyping the fourth one right now. See where that goes. I'm just waiting on the economy to come back to life.
I feel that.
but,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've been doing my own thing just because I got tired of being told no. It's so funny because I would pitch these ideas that were ahead of the curve, and it's like, oh no, faces on food. That's stupid. No one would want that. It's like Shoppies, or oh hey, we girl-led properties. No, no, no. Well, what will the boys watch? And it's like the show if it doesn't suck.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly,
Yeah.
like, it's still great, like, that's I mean, you've probably, like, had to, like I mean, especially with everything you've done throughout the industry and through animation and comics, that's a lot of adversity to, like, kinda battle through
Yeah.
and, kinda get through. How did you keep yourself up throughout the years? I mean, even going through the animation job with, like, Titmouse, knowing that, like, you worked on it, it happened, but then it didn't, like, fall through all the way, and that's a lot of time and devotion, but also, like, figuring out your steps to get through every single networking and every next, gig and whatnot. What keeps you going through all of this?
So I'll tell you a little personal thing about myself is I wound up disabled. I was bedridden for a couple months, stuck in a wheelchair for a couple years with a mystery illness that without healthcare in this country, we all know how fun that is.
Yeah.
So the only thing kept me going is I have to make my own stuff or I'm going to lose it being trapped in a house and with nothing else. And where other people would be like, oh, I have nothing to do. That's fine. I'm like, nope, I'm doing something because I can't not do something. It's like keep your mind focused on something, focus in like a laser on your goals and just keep going. And also I'm just like too stubborn to quit. I mean, how many times I've had my stuff either co-opted by someone else who got rewarded for it, or I just kept like, we can't see the vision in it. And like 10 years later, everyone's doing it. And it's like, oh, yeah, now you're like everyone else. I'm like, I've been here the whole time, my guy. But,
Man. I mean, and that's another thing is like being within the industry and knowing your skills and talents and just like trying to like get people's attention and have them, remember you and develop that relationship. That's difficult too. Trying to make that impact to even impact their lives enough to like have that you be considered.
there's a lot of turnover too. Like once you get in, oh, that person's already gone to another company. New person, you're like, okay, well they're gone, and new person, and they're gone, and it's just but people don't understand. It's not just about talent. It's not just about drive. A lot of it is about luck and the right timing and the right circumstance. And a lot of people will beat themselves up if they didn't get somewhere. I'm like, I felt bad. You're like, oh man, this didn't work, but it's so many moving parts. It's like the game with the stick with the plates spinning around, like how many can I balance before it all comes crashing down? And it's just have a backup plan. If you're lucky enough to be with someone who has a stable job, that also really helps a lot because then it's like, oh, you're not going to risk the farm trying to support like a family of like 20 kids and like, oh, I didn't get this $8 flatting job, you know, I'm not going to pay for anything, but you just gotta give yourself some grace, give yourself some time, reevaluate if you make a mistake. Look, I don't know anybody who's ever jumped out the gate and got perfection the first time they tried anything and then was like, I'm successful on everything and I've never failed. It's like some people might have an extra hand with like help, but at the same time, at the end, they might not be as driven as the people who don't. So you never know where you're going to wind up as long as you just keep fighting the fight, being realistic, and then giving yourself some compassion if it doesn't work out.
I love that. That's like the biggest thing too, is just giving yourself some grace. I think all of us need to do that a bit more. This is the reality we live in now is so fast, and everything's just instant gratification, and everyone looks perfect online, and videos and reels just kind of like distort stuff, and our reality is switching so much. And I get, AI is a whole nother thing. That's a whole thing.
Yeah.
That's like a thing, and so like it's giving yourself like the ability to have that time in that moment. Like art takes time, learning skill sets takes time. And just getting better at stuff takes a lot of, like you said, trial and error and just messing up and falling. And some people just quit before they give those opportunities.
I'm,
And
I'm,
that's why I love this.
I'm too Gen X for that.
Yeah, I feel that. Yeah. I mean, that's why I made the live drawing show Spilled Ink. I didn't know how to draw. So I was like, I'm gonna go learn how to draw live every week with my friends until I get good. And now I'm just like, I'm still doing it. It's like a year and a half in. We got to get you on that sometime. That'd be super great.
the best
Um
the best way to draw to help yourself is a ballpoint pen.
ooh,
So you can't erase it, and you just got to keep moving, and that way
yeah.
you get super loose, and you get better. You can always go back and light box it. Oh God, I'm old, but light box it or put it in Photoshop and redraw over it.
Honestly, light boxing is so much fun too. That's one of my favorite like things to use whenever I'm going over stuff to tighten them up. And once I got used to that process, I was like, oh, okay, I could be sloppy for a couple rounds. I think that's another mindset is that you could go over things over and over again with art. Like light boxing is super important. Learning your digital. I'm terrible at my digital tools. Terrible. But those are so helpful. And I have friends like teaching me stuff where I could just make easy fixes instead of like the manual longer way, which is sometimes funner though. The traditional ways are always kind of, if you have that time frame, they're a lot fun. But I guess even in your situation with what you do with everything, you kind of need a master as much as possible a lot of these programs and traditional aspects too, depending on what the gig calls for.
Yeah, it's just constantly learning new things. You're like, oh my God, a new thing already. It's like,
You don't
mm,
get bored, you know what I mean? It's
yeah,
always
because it's like now I got to learn 3D, but then by the time you learn 3D, AI is doing 3D. The models look like garbage, but at some point it's going to be so good that you're not going to need to learn how to do 3D, and then it's like, okay, now I got to learn some new skill over here. And personally, with AI, I just wish that it was like we had our own algorithm rather
yeah.
than like it feed all of ours. Because I take thousands of photographs, like thousands of videos, thousands of photographs. I have entire shelves of my art. I've got disk drives after disk drives of like artwork that could train it.
Oh.
But it's I think at this point it's just going to be a thing where the big studios have that, and the little guy is just going to be like, "Great, you're using my stuff, cool."
Yeah,
You
awesome.
know?
Great. Exploitation again in the industry. There we go. The never-ending call that I think everyone's battled for eons, and it doesn't seem like it's ever going to end sometimes with the way it's going too. I mean, with all these tools and all these developments and like actually keeping up with it, do you ever feel like you're just constantly like just trying to catch up with technology and constantly trying to catch up with techniques? Do you feel like traditional kind of like brings you back to knowing like some stability behind all that?
Um, I think traditional at this point is a novelty in the sense of when you go to an artist table, this is a real piece of art because it's not hard. It's harder to fake traditional art than it is to fake a digital print.
Mhm.
So once somebody sees like, oh, this is a real watercolor, it's actually watercolor. I mean, people could still cheat, but when you're looking at that, you say, oh, this is good. They have this over here, but they also have this over here, and so you could get the best of both worlds. Like I do sketch cards at my table, but I call them mini cards. They're a little smaller than the other ones, but I have a book of like 400 cards, and people will just look through them, and it gets them to your table, and then you're like, well, if you like that, you might like the books that I make, and you might like this over here, and it's more of it's like you're more free to make a mistake on traditional than
Yeah.
you are with digital because people are staring at digital. I can zoom in like 800 pixels and notice that the arm isn't perfectly aligned with the other arm, and so you suck. But if you're in a tiny little card, you could have some wonky anatomy. And they're like, well, I'll forgive it because it's this big, you know?
Yeah.
So,
That makes sense. And so that's cool to know that doing all the sketch cards didn't burn you out. It actually you kind of, I guess, realize that it's beneficial and positive for like your tabling events. How do you curate your table? I'm really curious about that. We have like everything you do. I mean, I'm sure you could promote animation slides. I'm sure you could do like digital, traditional sketch cards, comics, everything. Like what makes you, how do you travel with that? You know, like what are you curating to really make it all fit you?
so my whole brand is about female-centric, positive girl roles that are not the traditional things like princesses and finding a boyfriend and making makeup. And I'm like not saying that you cannot enjoy that. That's not what I'm saying. I grew up as a kid that was not feminine enough and not masculine enough. So I wanted characters that were kind of like me. Like all the folk facts characters are lovable oddballs. Like I said, you know, one's like a mama bear. She's kind of like I protect my group. And one's the optimist to a fault, and another one's obsessed with 80s culture, and another one, her anxiety actually comes to life and causes problems because I think we've all had anxiety as artists. And then like another one who's insecure and she finds a new role that puts her in the spotlight that gives her confidence. And it's that kind of stuff that it's like, as long as it's something like that. So like I've been in a group called Girls Drawing Girls where we did girl positive pinup art. So nothing that's like exploitive. It's soft, it's gentle. Like so I had some of that in my sketchbooks. I have like lanyards that promote like science for girls and dinosaurs and all the kind of stuff that used to be kind of masculine coded. Like, hey, it's a sword, but it's got ribbons and bows on it, you know. It's kind of
That's so
it's
cool.
kind of like mashing up the things that you wouldn't expect to be together. I've got the books, I've got the art, I've got enamel pins with like positive messaging on it, like girls love science and STEM girl or STEAM girl, or you know things like that, like books over boys, to show that girls can actually like things without they don't have to give up the thing that they liked at 11 because they turned 11, which is like a phenomenon, which is why a lot of girls properties cut off and they just go to live action because it's cheaper. uh,
Oh,
Missing the point that anime really fills the hole where a Western culture kind of just like, yeah, forget girls now. I mean, I get why. I get that the ratings are like that, but it's also like if you don't give quality stuff, they're not going to watch it.
I
So
never put that connection together. That makes sense. Huh.
that's why a lot of indie stuff is really popular with female leads. It's like, you know, like Digital Circus has Pomni and the Knights of Guinevere and all these other things, female leads that we wanted to do when we pitched to studios, but we were literally told, why isn't it a boy? What will the boys watch? And I'm like, they'll watch it if you make it fun. Like boys watch Totally Spies, boys
Yeah.
watch Kim Possible.
Yeah.
You know, if it's fun and engaging, anyone will watch it. And that's the kind of stuff I want to have at my table that doesn't rely on, oh, it's another retelling of a princess story. Oh, we're in a mixed mixed capitalist democratic republic, but we're still writing princess stories. I don't understand. I just don't understand it. I've never gotten it.
How do you relate? I don't know. Like, what's the
Yeah, well,
connection there?
and it's like, well, the minute that a character has to be strong, she has to wear pants. It's like Sailor Moon can kick butt in a mini skirt and heels. Like, can we keep the effeminate nature but with the masculine? Like, put it together.
Yeah.
Like, put it together. They can go together. They don't have to be like this way. So
Yes, I love that.
that's what's at my table, along with the My Little Pony stuff, because people know me from that, like some prints and some charms and things like that.
It's demonstrating like what you are, what you know, and what you like really believe in. Also, but you know what's gonna sell too. Like I'm sure the My Little Pony stuff is gonna attract people for the familiarity to like get locked in, at least browsing and interested in what you there, so you could pitch the rest of your stuff. Um, and like I love how you already talked about it, the way you're pitching, and just to get them within 2 minutes too. That's a really pinnacle point for indie creators to take note of. Like getting your pitch down like fluidly enough to get their attention, but not overwhelm them
Yeah.
is key, especially with everything you can offer for what you do. Do you do commissions and stuff like that for people,
Yeah.
or you really just what you
Well,
offer?
for Comic-Con, I'll do them before, like
Nice.
in the weeks before, I'll do it and they can pick it up because there's no way I can do pitching and art at the same time. It's too much overwhelming. With San Diego's like thousands and thousands of people. If it was like a slow show, like I've done some tiny little furry ones, and some pony ones. And those are easier to draw. Like you're not
Yeah.
like, oh my God, there's 50 people going by my table and I've just missed like 15 girls that went by, you know. Those ones are easy, but the other ones I was like, just pre-package. Just do it beforehand, pay it beforehand, you pick it up, you can go, it's easier.
Love that. And so when you like you know you were based out of LA, you're kind of in Austin, the Austin area now. How do you think your con selection has changed? Do you think it was better in that California region? How's your Texas conning going in that area?
I don't do a lot of conventions out here because I just don't feel the need that I have to. I've done Free Comic Book Day, which was amazing. I've done a library con over in Pflugerville. Like I made in a day what I've made at some cons in like 3 days. Um, it's a lot, and then there's no overhead because I was a guest and they actually paid me to be there, which is very different. Basically, like it's just a lot more mellow. I don't have to stress out so much. Like the furry one, I'm like, I don't care if I make any money, and I did. I made a decent amount of money, and I'm like, wow, because I wasn't expecting it. Because it's like, okay, well, I do pony stuff, and that's kind of tangential, and I do some
Yeah.
cute stuff, but it's I don't really, I'm not part of that market. But that's also the thing now is people need to stop putting themselves in a box because if you go, say you like sci-fi stuff, but half your characters are like furries, why not go to a furry convention and sell
Yeah.
your stuff? It's both, you know, find what is tangential to your stuff and then pursue those things. But personally for me, I don't feel like I have to do a lot of cons other than San Diego. That's the one I sell at, but I will go as a guest if people invite me, and I will do panels if people have me.
Oh, cool. I mean, that's awesome that you can do that as well. And like finding success and a track record at San Diego, once you're kind of locked into that ecosystem, that's exciting. Because that's pinnacle win at that point, I feel. But that drive, I'm sure, is brutal. I don't know if you drive or fly out there, but I used to drive from El Paso, and that was a 12-hour
Oh
straight
yeah.
shot, and that was just brutal. But from Austin, you're adding what, another 8, 9 hours on top of that.
Well,
So,
I fly. I keep all my stuff out in California.
oh,
I
cool.
just fly in. I'm like, all the books can stay there. I only take what and it just stays there, and then it's just a 2 hour drive. It's not a big deal.
Nice. Okay, that's way more breathable at
Yeah, that's
that
what
point.
I don't understand the people that want to go everywhere. I'm like, oh, especially with Southwest changing their bag policies and stuff. And I'm like, y'all killing us here, man. Help the little man. Help us all.
I disguise so much in my duffel bag. Like I try
Oh,
to lace my banner on my duffel bag with everything, and they give me crap sometimes, but like sometimes I'm able to sneak through enough
but you
to kind of.
gotta have the baggy pants and then put it up your leg, tie it around your leg. Oh, I've got a gimpy leg. Oh, sorry, I can't say that. I've got a bad yeah, me. But you know, I've done I've not even done that, but I you know what I mean. I've had to camouflage things, and I like my carry-on is full of like books, and I'm like, holy crap, why is this thing so heavy? And TSC's like, what's all this metal? I'm like, it's like 150 enamel pins. I'm sorry. And they're looking at it, why is the My Little Pony comics? I'm like, I told you that's what was in the shoebox. And they were like, okay, just go, get out of here.
So yeah, I love that so much. Honestly, I've been there. It's the airport security, and it's just getting harder sometimes at this point. At least we don't got to take off our shoes. But I need a real ID now, so that's the situation.
I
But
Recheck has just saved me so many nightmares because the last time they tried to feel me up, and I'm like, hey, give me flowers and chocolate if you're gonna do that again.
honestly, yes. Um, so all right, so everything you've done, so much cool stuff. What is the and what you were saying at the beginning of the show, like now is the time to kind of take charge. Now you have opportunities to do anything you want. You don't have like you have the tools in front of you, you have the capabilities, you have the lessons. There's no excuse not to go out and pursue what you want to do. Despite not having a studio backing, despite not having a publisher, like you can go and make these things happen. What is left for you to do that you haven't even approached yet, on your bucket list of creating?
And there's still some properties I'd love to work on, like Sonic the
Okay.
Hedgehog for one. I got so close to being on that, and then Archie imploded, and then the editors quit, and every time I knew somebody, it kept changing. Um, I have to fully animate my stuff. I'm in the midst of doing novelizations of stuff and I'm going to go that way because I love comics, but I'm tired of drawing. Like I've just busted out 60 pages on a project and I'm still not done. But only because people were like, "What's the ending to Fofax? I need the ending." I'm like, "Okay, I'm almost there. Cut me some slack. I'm tired. Books take 2 to 4 months to do on my own alone." So I'm like, "You're gonna have to give me a break, people." But then like, I'm just gonna go into other stuff like maybe even like making your own movies, because now all you got to do is put your cell phone on a tripod, put on a skateboard, and you need to,
Yeah.
do all the stuff you couldn't do before. So I'll see where we go. I'm just gonna keep making stuff no matter what, because I can't imagine myself not making something.
Yeah, no, honestly, I mean, that's so exciting too. Like, and especially the way your books are formatted and the way you've created these characters, you could really bring a lot of that to life.
Yeah.
And like even in short films or just small things, you don't have to go like full feature right out of the gate, but like, like how you started off, short stories and submissions and things like that, that can build up into something big. And I mean, I could imagine just with some of your characters coming to life fairly easily on like an indie budget or just getting a bunch of friends together and being like, let's see what we could spit out from this. Is that something you want to try to aspire to do in the next couple years?
Probably, yeah. I'm usually just used to being a one woman army, just because I've been isolated a bit.
Yeah.
But who knows? You meet people and then you get access to things you didn't have access to before. So you just reevaluate everything. Because like on my books, I don't just write them. I write, I draw, I ink, I
Mhm.
color, I lay out, I do text. I probably should hire someone for speech balloons, but when you got to do it, you got to do it. So right now, I'm just going to be compiling all my stuff into omnibus versions. So I'm not bringing like 15 volumes, because I think their eyes go like, how many books are there? So that, repackaging the stuff I have and then just doing new things. We'll just see what happens. I mean, right now it's just like man makes plans, God laughs. You're like, I have all these plans, and then the whole world explodes. You're like, well, that's not gonna work, is it? So we'll see what we do.
I love that too. No, yeah, I mean, that's so right with all of that. Like, it keep honestly like finding that mentality to keep yourself creative. I feel like that's where so many people struggle, but you thrive on that. Like, you really do know how to just keep yourself like, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next skill set? What's the next project? And without tiring of that burnout doesn't seem to hit you. How do you channel through that burnout if you get
Um,
burnout?
Take a break. Like I was telling you, we explore random abandoned towns. I do
Hmm.
photography, I bake, I take care of animals. I taught myself to sew.
Everything but comics. You kind of
Yeah,
just separate yourself
yeah,
a lot from that.
yeah.
Okay.
I learned to sew. I started making some clothing. I make cement sculptures type stuff, like just all sorts of random different things. Like, I want to learn how to do this, so I do it. How do I customize a doll? Okay, let's do it. How do I do this? Okay, let's do it. And it helps because YouTube has so many things that you can learn on YouTube. Like, here's how you fix this. I refinished a set of night dressers, because I wanted to get some night dressers, because I didn't have any here. And we went around, they want $600 for particle board. It's garbage. So we went to Goodwill, found one for like $3, piece of crap, just beat up. So I sanded it all the way down to the raw wood, patched all the gashes, uh, polished it down, finished it, sealed it, put some hardware on it. Now it looks like it's $600.
Oh, wow. So, and I love that too. I mean, that's something that I tell a lot of creators is that, you kind of have to live life and experience life before you could, sometimes even start telling stories because that experience fuels you and that's what keeps you going. And that's what gives you stuff to write about. And especially in your case, and I feel like I'm getting to this point too, like creatively with all the projects I'm doing, is that you also, because we push so hard to devote yourself to this craft and to the skill set and to getting into the industry, but you also need to realize like you've lived life and you've gotten here and you're doing these things, but you also need to remember to separate yourself from all this
Yeah,
because the more you separate yourself, it
it was
helps you clear your
hard
head.
beginning. Like mental health, like I know people say it all the time, but like people start out and you're really tied to your work. So if someone rejects your work, you feel like it's a personal attack on you. And it's not. Not necessarily. It could be, but it's not necessarily. And so it really helps to find a new way to think, like whether that's getting a therapist or talking to people about your issues. Sometimes your writing can be colored. Like I knew someone who was very negative and he would write stories and I'm like, wow, these characters are so angry all the time and very negative. I'm like, you don't realize it leaches into your work. So sometimes, like, that's why I didn't do a book of faux facts for a couple of years, because I was like, the whole COVID thing and all the stuff is so depressing, and I'm like, my story started getting really dour and sad and heavy, and I'm like, oh, this is not going to work. I need to like throw this out for now. and just find a way to deal with the feelings that you're having, whether you work them out or you talk about them or whatever. But I think a lot of people feel like, oh, well, I'm fine. I'm fine. It's like, you're not always fine. And you don't always know you're doing it. That's the thing. You see a lot of mental health issues in like the art industry because people are conditioned that do it alone, do it on your own. And that's not always helpful. And I know people have been burned, so they don't ask for help. And I was one of them. Like people would burn me, so I'm a lot more independent than I used to be.
Oh,
Um, I had to learn not to expect anything, and that way you can be pleasantly surprised if they come through, but don't expect people because our culture is very false positive sometimes, and so they're like, oh, I'll be there, and then they're not, and then you're angry and you're
yeah.
like have to like
Resentful.
you're like, oh, okay, don't expect anything unless it's like something critical. Anything like, oh, I'll give you my old filing cabinet. It's like, yeah, sure you will. No, you won't. Unless you're gonna show up on my doorstep meeting, you're not
The
gonna get it.
Wisty.
You know, just let it go. It's just finding a balance and then finding how your mindset will affect your work. Because a lot of people don't notice it. And find that healthy confidence, the healthy sense of self. And the people that have a lot of negative self-talk, they'll also be highly critical of everything. And there's a difference between having a trauma response and then also just having a bad mindset. And it's good that if you evaluate what that is and how you can then deal with it. But you have to identify your issues and then you can form a battle plan on how to fight it.
Yeah, and it's especially important because like if you're collaborating with people and that mental health aspect does creep up and there's like not like communication or understanding or you're not able to kind of manage it to be in a certain environment, that could actually hinder your involvement with people and with publishers and creators and teams and whatnot. So like understanding your limits and your own self will actually help you have success like you have. I mean, I can only imagine you've had to like figure out and learn a lot over the years so
Yeah.
that you know
I
how to
had
like power through.
to see the positive a lot more because I would see the problems. I was more towards the negative side only because it was so bad for me. And then
Mhm.
like pulling it more towards a realism. And then there's a move to be toxic positivity, which doesn't help anyone. Like, yeah, go do this thing and drive right off a cliff. No, that's not close. Like, this could be good, but it will be hard is a better mindset for it. So it's
Yeah.
like bring yourself to the middle. A healthy middle is where we should be, not super over the top positive or over the top negative. Those will not help anybody. Just try to be real and then try to be open to seeing things in a different way that you didn't think about.
Very important there. Yeah, honestly, like other perspectives and just like thinking before you react to some stuff really does help. Really just like kind of like makes everything a lot smoother and just like more understanding. I love that, Mary. You've given so much advice and introspective stuff on this episode. I love everything you've done. It's so admirable, and you've kind of championed so much. I'm so hyped to like dive more into your work, into your independent stuff. Before we wrap, though, I do, or as we wrap, pretty much, your involvement with the Zelda Awards. How did that come about, and what are you doing with them right now? How are you working in them? In what capacity?
So, a friend posted on Facebook. He tagged me in a post. They were asking for people to help start it up, and so I just replied. I didn't even think they'd pick me because, like, I don't know, I'm just me. But they did, and so I started out doing some artwork stuff. And then I was like, well, I could do help do nominations and judging and data, like compiling data from the spreadsheets and things like that, and advertising. I provided some coloring sheets for some workshops that are going to be coming up. I think it's an awesome con, so there are going to be some faux facts coloring sheets for the kids. And if there's like a convention that comes up, I'll probably be on a panel or something. So I'd already previously worked on another project called Womanthology, which was like a woman's only anthology series that Renee DeLiz and some other people put together. And it was at the time, it was one of the biggest Kickstarters they ever had. 110 million, 110,000 at the time was really impressive. So originally I didn't get a piece in time. They had an opening and I missed it. And they're like, well, we need someone to color these people's artwork. So I did. And I colored one with like Gail Simone and some other people. And then they're like, oh, well, there's an opening for a pinup. So I did one of my Zori Lita characters with White Rain. And so there's a pinup there. And then eventually Renee DeLiz, I think she got sick and had to pass it on to IDW. So I was in Womanthology Space, again, as a pinup artist with another Zori Lita piece. I believe in the first volume. It was going to be in the second one, but they bumped me up to the first one. And so I ended up also doing the sketchbook as an editor, and I did the cover, and then I compiled it and did the title pages. And so it just seemed like a natural progression to go from that project to the Zelda Awards, because it was woman centric, and my whole brand is feminine positivity. So
yeah, it fits you. You are like the poster child for the Zelda Awards. I love it. Like everything you represent, everything you're doing in comics, it's so perfect. I'm so glad we became acquainted because of them. We're doing a lot of cool stuff. Right? I know we're sponsoring some stuff. I'm working with them on the anthology and everything, and just getting all that going for printing. So I'm so hyped that you're part of this, and we'll get to see more of you and your work. And the Zelda Awards are great new awards that are coming out in April of 2026. It's all women run. It's all women in the categories and nominations. They are open now. I believe submissions are open until the end of the year, I want to say.
31st.
Nominations. Yeah. And then the anthology submissions are open to, I believe, February 1st. I think that's what Sarah told me, if I'm not correct. So. Sarah, correct me.
Yes, and I'll have a piece in there as well, which is dedicated for my Womanthology era. So
love that. My collaborator on my series Fake Your Death, China Rosemary, I know is working on some stuff. And I think another Apollo centric creator is Kai Brown is doing some stuff there too. So I'm so hyped to like drop all my Apollo creators into the Zelda Awards nomination. It was so much fun. We have just a list. I was so happy to like fill that thing out. But yes, I'm so hyped to bring on more of the Zelda Awards. Just nominees, people that are running it, just everyone that's involved over the next couple of months. So it's going to bring like so much more to the show. And thank you for everything, Mary. This is a great conversation. You are just a great person to look up to. Like I can't believe how much stuff you do. I love it. I can't wait to dive in more. Do you want to give any shout outs or anything as we wrap up?
Yeah, so I'm going to be at San Diego Comic-Con in the small press section, small press N4, where I've been for like the last 18 years. You can go to my website at marybellamy.com, my store at zorilita.com, ZORILITA.com. I have books and pins and all sorts of stuff. Let's see, I'm on TikTok, Instagram, everywhere under Zorilita. And also, if you love My Little Pony, if you like the games and stuff that I worked on, if you go to renegadegamestudios.com, they have tons of My Little Pony stuff, and I believe some of it's on sale for the holidays. So if you check that out, that'd be pretty cool.
Nice. I love it so much. All those links are here in the episode description as well. Mary, this has been amazing. Thank you so much. And all of you watching, don't forget to check out Spilled Ink every Thursday night, 6:30 to 8:30 Eastern time. And tomorrow, Tuesday, this December 16th, we're launching a new show, The Print Shop, with me, Dan Hills, and Chris, our marketing director, and our CEO. We're actually going to be opening up a new show, talking to you about all the new print-on-demand updates, all the new stuff going on with CWS, answering questions, and giving some Kickstarter shout-outs. So check that out at 3 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. And thank you all for hanging. This has been a great night.
Bye.